This video is called Extreme Hypocrisy when it comes to reproduction. So today I was told by an attractive, probably Japanese woman, probably mixed, that I'm an 8, which keeps the average at a little bit above an 8. And I was told by people on, gang stalkers, that it is ridiculous what feminists are expecting, because not all of them are gang stalkers. And they say, I know how you feel about being more handsome, smarter, and a greater warrior than the majority of people, who have an attractive woman, and a greater warrior than anybody, and yet they expect you to settle. So the confirmation I received today, not only from an attractive woman, but from, the people who are on their side, is just very disturbing. And then I saw on Tinder a female who looks like, the Colombian, one of the catfish who I interviewed, and she unwittingly went on record proving gang stalking as one of the witnesses. She's probably the only unwitting witness. Oh, excuse me, her and my mother are the only unwitting witnesses. The other 9 knew very well that they were on record, except for the person who did the experiment, when she said that she also smelled and detected the fumes in the car. So you see how ridiculous feminism is. It is completely selfish. It's, we're going to try to hook you up with our family, or we're going to try to look out for women. It's something that pertains to them, either their gender or their family, right? Because it's almost certainly a family member of the Colombian, because what are the odds that someone who looks almost exactly like the Colombian, which is what I call her, she's probably not really Colombian, would be one of the few people on Tinder who I have a mutual friend on Facebook with, because it shows you on Tinder, which is, for those of you who don't know, a dating app for the phone. It shows you who you're mutual friends with on Facebook. And to make matters worse, the female she's friends with doesn't even live in San Jose, and she's posing as a TI. So when you consider everything, it's very obvious what they're doing. They have made it clear time and time again that if I was to settle, if I was to break my oath, which I'm never going to do, mind you, that it would have to be with a bigger female. For a laundry list of reasons. I've gone over this before, because I've expressed my disgust for bigger women. I've expressed my disgust for catfish, and she is either the catfish herself, or she's someone related to her with similar dimensions, if you will. I've even put in my Elder Scrolls, I'll never settle for any woman that is not a 9 or a 10. Now you have to think about this now, okay? Men are not supposed to be the more attractive sex. So when it comes to looks, you got to keep in mind that a man is going to be stronger than a woman. If a man is with a woman that's stronger than him, that's stronger than he is, he's got serious issues, right? So, basically, if you're a high 8 or an 8, you should be with a woman who's a 9 or a 10. You see what I'm saying? Because the bare minimum should be an 8, right? Because women are supposed to be the attractive ones, right? Do we put on all the makeup and spend 20 minutes getting ready? No. Or half an hour or 45 minutes or however long they spend. No, that's them. And I'm not including the shower, right? That's them. They get all done up and get their hair done and all this stuff. They're supposed to look better than the man that they're with. You get my drift. But if things are natural, they won't look that much better. So 1 or 1.5 points higher is reasonable. So there's no reason that someone like me shouldn't be with a 10. Okay, now that we've established that naturally, logically, and with a moral standard that makes sense, you must consider that the only way that women would argue that and feel like they're right is if they use a scale that belongs in Babylon's system, the scale of the oppressor. Now, how could the artificial scale of the oppressor, how could a philosophy that comes straight from the oppressor be superior to Christianity, to the ancient scale of pretty much all of our ancestors, mind, body, and soul? How could it possibly be? It's not. So the only way they can make the argument that I should settle is if they acknowledge that their philosophy is with the oppressors. And then if they were to do that, they would be wrong from the jump. You see what I'm saying? They have no right to try to get me to settle. Absolutely, women deserve to be punished. I'm going to give you an example, okay? An example the Bible doesn't really give, to the best of my knowledge. Imagine if a man who was a prophet of God was to come into the world and he said, I really want to plant my seed. Now, God didn't tell me to plant my seed in a beautiful lady, but I really want to plant my seed in a beautiful lady. Now, imagine if the circumstances of his life were similar to mine. Now, mind you, I'm not saying I'm a prophet. Bear with me, and you'll be forced to the same conclusion that I have come to long, long ago. Imagine if women were using the scale of the oppressor. They're like, look, you don't make 6 figures. You don't even make $70,000 a year. Why should we date you? Now imagine if he makes $30,000 a year. Like, you don't even make fucking 35. You don't even make $35,000 a year. You can't afford me. You see what I'm saying? Now, also remember that we live in a time where women, on average, have more education than men. There's more women in higher education than there are men. And what do they say about college, right? Get a college degree, you can get a nice job. I've seen on the news a few months back that because of the changes in attitudes of the, information technology sector of society, the IT sector, that it is starting to be more balanced. Women are starting to occupy IT jobs at about the same rate as men. So, first of all, even if that wasn't the case, you shouldn't judge a man by the size of his wallet. A good woman whose husband is not making enough money might get a job to help support the family. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as the kids are taken care of, As long as the kids are being raised by them for the most part, there's nothing wrong with that. So when you look at this thing, right, their argument just simply doesn't hold any weight. There are a bunch of sick Kissinger, George Soros type of sickos who agree with them, who fund them, and who do everything in their power to make them think that they're right. And then there are men that put their lives on the line to fight for change, who are shunned, blacklisted, and persecuted by the scum of this land. Think about it. Their argument does not hold any weight. And the moment that good men concede a point that is false in this regard, the moment we pretend that they are right, then we are hopelessly enslaved. We may as well sell our daughters right to the elite. Because that's what we'll have done. We'll have sold them out. We may as well get a briefcase full of cash for it. Mind, body, and soul is the only scale that one can truly say is a moral scale, is a fair scale, is a righteous scale, and it is sacred, ladies and gentlemen. Do you really think someone as intelligent as myself, as honorable as myself, would pursue it if that was not the case? My fighting philosophy is superior to theirs. And so is my life philosophy for the same reason. I have that divine insight, and everything they have done, everything, has blown up in their faces, while I am being rewarded slowly but surely by the divine, by the Most High. Matthew 5:10. Matthew 10:37 through 39. So consider this. All you people who want me to settle, it is not good for society for people like me to settle. The other side of the argument is that you could say, well, we concede your point. We know you're this great guy. That's why we want you to date, our friend, our family, whatever. And that's a little bit more picky. A little bit more complicated to address. The bottom line is, you can't look at it that way. You have to look at the bigger picture. If someone does not love your friend or family, it doesn't matter how great of a person they are. It's not good for society, and it's not good for that female. I am not capable of loving a woman who is not a 9 or a 10. Because God has made clear to me that that is the case. And even if it wasn't, I would not settle. Has nothing to do with a complex. Has everything to do with natural attraction. When you look at the Quran, they put in the head of the righteous that there will be beautiful women waiting for them in the afterlife. In Islam rather than the Quran. I don't remember if it's the Quran or the Hadith. But there's beautiful women waiting for them in the afterlife. So how could it be shallow if God does not like ugly, and there are beautiful women waiting for the most righteous in the afterlife? We need to create a society where good, attractive men in general get good, attractive women unless they fall in love otherwise with someone less than attractive in the eyes of the rest of humanity, right? We need to give people what they naturally deserve. No one should ever feel the way that I do.